Hi, and welcome to Spirits, your bi-weekly news show from Dallas-Fort Worth about basically happy hour discussion with the new up-and-coming artists and new people on social media out there. My name is Kyle Condis, Kyle 1.0, that's Kyle 1, point spelled out P-O-I-N-T 0 on Twitter. And my guest this week is Mona Kasra, at Monism on Twitter. It's at M-O-N... Oh wow, I just messed it up.
M-O-N-A-I-S-M. Monism.
And so, Mona, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
So, since the beginning, if you want, like going way back, originally I'm a graphic designer. That I started video art for my MFA when I started my MFA, and I fell in love with art making rather than doing design, which you usually do it for clients, and you have set of rules that you have to follow, and so I started doing that, and just video was my passion in art making. And I started doing autobiography kind of videos and installations. And after my MFA, and while I was finishing, I started teaching. Then back then I was living in LA, so I started teaching at Cal State Northridge and Santa Monica College. And I taught for 2.5 years. And I always wanted to go back to school doing PhD, but couldn't find a right program which allows artists to do the work. It's free for artists to research, but at the same time make art. So I would have loved to stay in California, but because of the family and friends I had. But the programs there were not something I would like to attend to. So after a while, I knew Dean Terry, who is a professor at University of Texas at Dallas, and we've been in touch. I knew what he's doing, and the program sounded like really interesting. So I contacted him, and now I'm here and doing a PhD and making art. So.
You say that your videos are autobiographical. How? In what sense do you mean? I mean, like I said, I do video art myself, but I create what I call video paintings, which are more abstract based. What style of kind of digital art do you create?
That's a very good point, actually. No, I would say that I have a narrative, and usually the narrative is not linear, it's non-linear. So it's not that there's a story I'm telling, it's just like kind of surreal, kind of like juxtaposed incident. But I tend to address my cultural background. I'm Persian, I lived in Iran, I grew up in Iran. I spent my teenage years there. I grew up during the Iran-Iraq war.
Oh, wow.
So, that kind of like really affected me because I was 2 when the revolution happened. So I don't remember that, but my parents, obviously their lives was affected by that, so it changed a lot of things for me growing up. And the revolution happened after I was born, so there was a lot of trauma going on while I was growing up, and the fact that especially being a woman in Iran was like a big major issue for me growing up. So I really reference those in my work, sometimes unintentionally, sometimes intentionally. So I play with that a lot in my work.
Could you describe what one of your videos might look like? I mean...
there is a lot. I usually have some sort, like there is a story about me. There is a lot of inside-outside going on in my work, dealing with public-private, because private, especially for a woman, means like a huge deal over there in Iran and with the Iranian culture. So, for example, I had a piece that was about drawers, like what's going on in people's drawers and what that tells about them. And kind of like I was negotiating with the fact that who are you in the outside and inside, and that was because growing up when you're in Iran, even now, like now it's a little better with the new generation, but when I was growing up, who you were outside was very different than who you are inside. Like you might watch satellite TV, for example, but you never say that when you're in school. Your parents will ask you, don't mention that we have satellites. You have to wear the veil, the Persian veil kind of outside, even for school, but then inside you don't do that. So your personality, your identity inside is very different than who you act outside.
Okay. I've seen some of your art, and this is one argument that's been thrown my direction, saying that especially like I said, I used to tell video painting before, and people say you can't have a moving painting, so they say what I do is film. And like I said, I've seen the one of your drawers. Would you consider yourself video art, or would you still consider them on somewhat the same level as film? I mean, do you see like a difference between the two, or are they the same?
I think that I think the boundary is very blurred. It's kind of hard to say which one's which, but I think I borrow more from cinema.
Okay.
Than, you know, playing visually with the... I don't think none of my videos had the visual, you know, playing with colors or forms as you do in your work, for example. It's usually there's a story I'm telling.
Okay.
You know, whether it's obvious or it's not, or the viewer is going to make this story, but I'm telling a story.
Okay. Which I see that very much through your work.
Yeah, I think that's...
Which also is another question. You're also currently working on a new project. I think it's called Guilt.
Yeah, which is going like... I don't know.
What, can you give a little background on what Guilt is?
That was kind of, again, going back to my cultural growing up issues, because, you know, I feel like my culture gave me a lot of guilt to carry, which that I don't think is so much Persian, it's like universal. A lot of, especially organized religions, they kind of forced you with that guilt that you have to carry. There are things you have to do, otherwise, you know, they're wrong, they're considered wrong, there are feelings that are wrong to even, like, sense. So it started as, like, kind of like my own project, but later I noticed, you know, I want to make it more interactive and use my social network and the social media that we're using, especially at school, to kind of see how other people feel about guilt. And so I had a shout out to the social network, Facebook and Twitter, asking people like, okay, what do you guys feel guilty about? And I got really good responses, but most of them are not really deep feelings. They're like very regular daily stuff. Like I feel guilty about not being a vegetarian, about eating ice cream, about eating that. What was the thing at the?
But I take it you're looking for more deeper things.
Exactly. So, and people who were closer to me usually responded with a more detailed information. So at this point, I have like lots of this information. I don't know how to show it so that it's meaningful to me as well. Okay. So I'm kind of like, it's kind of challenging.
So it's pretty much still a work in progress.
Yeah,
and you're still trying to figure out you think there's a chance it could go a totally different way than what you're thinking about right now?
Yeah, you know, at some point I might think, you know, okay, forget about all the social networking. Let's just see what I have to say. So we'll see. I'm really playing with that at this point.
Before I forget, one of the points of Spirits is it's a happy hour discussion, and I like to come to a place where two people can just come in to chat and, you know, be loose and, you know, be free about what they want to talk about. So we're at the Elbow Room near downtown Dallas. It's 310 Gaston Avenue. And it's a real good place. They have good food and good full bar. My choice of drink tonight is Fat Tire. It's a New Belgium ale, which is also the makers of one of my favorites, New Belgium 1554. Mona, what are you drinking?
I'm having Pinot Grigio, which is great white wine. I'm a white wine person, so I had to go with white wine. It's beer is very. I don't drink beer a lot, so.
I like wine too, and white I tend to like a little bit more than red. I like them, I wouldn't say, but almost equal, but white's definitely my preference.
Yeah, so I love white wine. It's just I love the texture, and I can drink 3 or 4 glasses easily, but with red wine, no. Wine and I pass out.
Nice to remember. I'll have to remember that one. Okay, so this past summer, we were both involved in this. We were both out of 50 students that got accepted into the CAD graduate show. And for those who don't know, CAD is the Contemporary Art Dealers of Dallas organization.